I hear somebody say, testing. Hey, it's me. Hi, John. I see you. It's John. I see and hear John. Welcome to the roundup. We get together, talk about links. John, how's it going? You're like visible.
Yeah. And see if we can keep a streak going.
Yeah. Wow.
Good. Except I didn't do much of my homework. I only read a couple articles so far.
I kind of bailed out in a couple as well. They got the one who started describing mind reading tricks. It's like, okay, I got mine.
Oh.
Yeah, I know that.
That could be handy.
Well, yeah, I guess you have to be able to read, and you have to have a mind. So I don't know if it worked or not. I finished up my big computer shelf project this week. Very happy with that.
Oh.
Yeah, where is it? I got a picture of it. I think
the big metal.
The metal contraption. Yeah, the thing is, I had a desk that's supposed to be a couch desk. It sort of comes up and you work at the couch. And it only came up to like way down here, so like that was sucky. so
I guess depends.
Yeah, I replaced the really cool desk with just dang metal shelves. Okay, so there you go. It's nothing fancy at all. What have you been up to this past week?
Oh, good question. Well, yeah, I mean, the Eagles opener on Thursday, and with a nice 64-minute delay due to potential lightning.
Ooh, wow.
In the middle of the game, or actually near the end of the game. But, yeah, what else did I do? I don't know. Yeah, maybe I'll recall last week. It was pretty long ago.
It is quite a bit ago. And the weekend was a good weekend for us. So.
Yeah, beautiful weather here. Went down to the Lancaster region yesterday, which is, Amish, and stores closed on Sundays. So, let God have like a day of rest type thing. And still reading the Skunk Works book, which is great. Crazy to read some of the stories, especially like about even the U2.
Oh, wow. Yeah, the U2, what a plane.
Yeah, and how primitive it was, but very early on, they used a sextant for navigation. Wow. They had to, they had like this funny periscope contraption so they could see beneath the airplane to help line up for their photographing runs. And they would see big fighters 15,000 feet below them because they couldn't get any higher. So it was wild. Like, then all the back channels, the Russians knew, they were doing it. They would complain in private because it was embarrassing if they complained publicly.
Like bad neighbors. Yeah, you guys got to stop this flying over.
Stop flying over our houses. Don't make me. Yeah. So I haven't gotten to, the Gary Powers incident yet. But
did it mention
crazy stuff like
the pickup trucks to take off? Somebody told me that you had to have pickup trucks holding the wings up for the U2 to take off.
I believe that's more for landing, if I recall.
Wow, that's crazy.
Because they wanted to save weight, so they used only center main gear. So it wasn't a tricycle, so they had to. Well, how does that work?
Oh, wow.
And even what pitch angle to take off, and especially to land. And Kelly Johnson told his Tony Levy or something like that, his favorite test pilot from like the P-80 even. So no, go ahead and put it down on the nose. Really? No, well, I don't want you to break it up. It's a very brittle airplane because it's these, monstrously long wings because it's a giant glider.
Yes.
So, crazy the things they had to deal with. And he talked about getting into the cockpit on the ground and sort of tilting it in a certain way that he knew he'd be nose up attitude, flying at that altitude, and coming in for a landing. And he even marked it with some like electric tape for his horizon reference because he can't see. And so yeah, it was, and the first couple of tests, the first couple of test flights, Kelly's flying chase in an aircraft, so this guy's coming in and he tries to land on the nose, but then he starts to porpoise a little bit. So power on, go around, try again. It does it a couple times. And he's finally like, screw it, Kelly. Forget this stupid idea you have of landing it on the nose. I'm going to do it like I said like you thought in the beginning. No, I'm just going to put it down real gently at a low angle of descent and let it land on the main gear. And so he finally was able to bring it in.
With wings that big, the landing speed's got to be like 30 miles an hour. So it can't be very much.
That's another funny one. They were doing taxi tests. Suddenly he realized, because he says it's really hard to get, they're out in the desert. And he said it was really hard to get perception. Oh, it's another funny thing. Yeah. Don't tell anybody, but, the first thing he said to this test pilot friend, he says, do you want to be a test pilot for this program? Sure, what is it? I can't tell you until you say yes. Which is funny. Right? He goes, okay.
But you'll like it. Yeah, sure, sounds good. Yeah.
Right. And then he says, all right, well, the first thing is go take out our little Bonanza or whatever, some small aircraft. Go find a place for us to set up a test landing strip in place out in the desert. So, he takes his plane. He's looking around, and he knew that place a lot because he'd flown a lot, and was always looking for emergency landing strips. So he knew this giant pile of desert like the back of his hand. So he swings down. He finds this place that he thinks will be pretty good, and he carries like a very heavy, I want to say like a condensed bowling ball. So he tosses it in out of the plane, where he thinks might be good surface, just to see does it just completely turn into dust.
Checking how hard the surface is.
Yeah, how firm is this? Like the salt flats. So it says, oh wow, it barely sunk in. So then he lands the airplane, and then gets out there and checks it out and goes, yeah, this will work. And yeah, it's crazy what they did, and even how they paid for it, all clandestinely, like literally putting money in, through the post office into Kelly, into the C&J Industries, like completely off the books and whatnot. They had stuff delivered to some other place, and the postmaster started wondering, what's all this weird stuff to C&J Industries? He looks them up, of course, can't find it. There's nobody like that in the phone book.
Yeah.
So then he sends one of his guys to follow the truck that comes and picks up stuff. Of course, then he's immediately surrounded, and the guy has to sign his life away.
Oh yeah, sure.
Promise never to.
You're the world's first test post office postman.
Right. Yeah. So he follows them back to where they're bringing the stuff. Anyway, yeah, it's fun stories like that. But certainly the landing and the first flight test. To your point, it's this giant glider. Supposed to just be taxiing tests, and suddenly he's airborne. Only at like 70 knots or something.
Yeah.
Nothing takes off at that speed in his world of fighter planes.
Not with the scrambled jets on there.
So it was like, and then he didn't even realize it at first because it was so subtle, and the perception is so challenging in this big cigar tube and long wings with so yeah, even that's a kind of funny story. That, oh wow, I just took off.
Well, it's funny you talked about marking the cockpit according to the view site. They still do that. Some acrobatic pilots will actually continue to mark it so they can spot 45 degrees or 60 degrees or whatever. They can kind of get a good guess simply by not looking outside the window, because a lot of people don't want to look outside the window.
Yeah, it makes sense. I know when I worked with Air on Fire F-18 and F-4 Phantom, great American Marine, Magic.
F-4, yeah.
His call sign was Magic. I worked with him for years and loved learning about that world. And he'd say, if there was like a nick in the windshield, that sometimes would cause a glint from the sun, and you'd immediately react. So they'd carry like grease pens, and they would
I like that.
mark it off because it's like stop faking me out and making me suddenly do a reactive maneuver. Like it's, suddenly there's bright light.
You don't have time to keep analyzing whether or not the sun's in your eyes or not.
Right. Yeah. So even little nicks like that on the canopy, he would say they would mark them up. But yeah.
Along these lines, I know some instrument pilots will take circular, like Post-its or circular suction cups with them, flying instruments. And the reason why is if the instrument goes bad, it won't just stop. It'll lie to you. And so if you've gone through all the figuring out that it's lying to you, just cover it up because you don't want to look at it anymore. It's sending you the wrong way.
That's a good tip because it's your normal scan pattern. It's gonna catch your eye every time, and you keep having to remind yourself.
And you should be trained well enough to actually use that scan pattern without thinking about it because that's
right.
That's how you get the ticket. And
right. Okay,
so let's do your links. First link is, should scientists be allowed to bring distant human ancestors back to life? I thought of this in the 70s, maybe. And it slipped my mind. And now I'm like, oh, my God. Yeah, I guess if they can bring back the woolly mammoth, you could bring back Isaac Newton, Shakespeare. Do you want like a school full of little Shakespeares and Isaac Newtons? And that's just such a weird idea.
Yeah, it's even weirder than the dire wolf or the woolly mammoth. Yeah, I thought the article that's the one I read the most. It points out a lot of the ethical questions, even with the dire wolf and the fact that, what came to mind is when I was in Bolzano at the XP conference last June. And then I was like, oh, there's that guy that they found in the in the melting glacier that's called Ötzi, and he's fully clothed. He had food in his stomach. He was basically shot with an arrow in the back, scapula, so he bled out. But he's basically completely intact, dressed as he would have been. They found ticks, maybe a tick, maybe some fleas. They found some bugs in his stomach. And he had, all of his clothing, his little fire starters. You could get DNA from that.
Yes. And just for folks who think that, that must have been a caveman, like, we've been the same model human for 30, 40,000 years. So it's not, people like before writing weren't somehow stupid. Matter of fact, I would argue they probably are smarter than we are because they had to have a good spatial knowledge of where they were going, and we just gave that up with maps.
So, to some extent, you kind of believe in some self-selection there, a survival of the fittest, because literally, I mean, he had an axe with a copper head, and the copper is traced to like Florence, if I recall.
Yes.
So for a few hundred miles south, and he's crossing the Alps.
Yes, without a map. He didn't have a map, didn't have a compass. He's just, I think I'll just walk over that mountain, and he must have been going somewhere he knew he could go to.
Yeah. And somehow they're able to trade and understand, copper comes from this area. So, yeah, we're even going to Pompeii, 79 AD or whenever it was frozen in time. Yeah, you go there and you kind of also same kind of deal. We're only more advanced because we have electricity.
That's correct.
But yeah, they had, yeah.
I listened to one podcast called The Great Explorers, and they just finished up one called, I get the guy's name, which I'm looking for here. Sorry. Yeah, Explorers Podcast. Jim Bridger. And Jim Bridger was one of the famous mountain men who settled the country. And he was illiterate, but he had a photographic memory. And
oh, wow.
So people, thought, well, he's just, redneck, whatever, and then he could tell them exactly where the river was and the mountain was and all that. And he spoke like 4 or 5 languages because he's just around the Indians and French, and so he picked up the languages. But he couldn't read or write, couldn't read a map, and they found that he would describe places like Yellowstone with the bubbling pots that they thought he was just making it up for like 20 years, and finally somebody went up and said, hey, actually, this guy was right all along. So yeah,
right. It sounds fantastical. Yeah, you gotta watch that mountain guy. He's like, I don't know what they're eating up there, berries or something. Yeah.
Well, once he gets to be, this will sound familiar. Once he gets to be at 45 or 50, he stopped the fur trade because he was in demand to guide not tours, but guide expeditions, and this, that, and everything, help the military out. And he would tell the military, like, don't attack these Indians because there's like 4,000 of them. And the colonel would be like, oh, that's not a big thing. He's like, no, don't go up in the mountains in the wintertime. So there's like 4 or 5 examples where he's like, you really don't want to do this. And they're like, he's just an old guy. He doesn't always start.
You might have to eat yourself if you get stranded up in the mountains in the winter. Yeah.
It amazes me that I know that had to be very frustrating for him.
Yeah.
So the next two are ones that Tim posted. I was looking forward to Tim talking about them. I don't have a tremendous amount of commentary on it. Did you read either one of the AI Hater or Element?
This is the second one that I didn't read the Mentalist, but I did read the AI Hater.
Yeah. I got scalded just like holding the hour. That guy was really seriously, hang on a second, my video froze. But yeah, that guy was angry.
Yeah. Man. It seems that way, which it seems kind of inappropriate. I don't know. To each their own, but I don't know. It gets hard when it's such a broad brush, I guess.
Yeah, see, that's the thing, and that's what I told Tim in the Discord. Like, you if you want to have a yes/no conversation about AI, you've lost. This is going to be yes. It's going to be yes because you can make it with computers. Chinese can make it with computers. So you really got to come up with a in this scenario, never use it in that scenario conversation. That's really tough to rant about.
True. Yeah, it's a little bit like if we go back to the DNA thing and, the difference between, let's say, cloning, which requires live, the ability to find, something more alive, you're maybe trying to extend it, versus what I think the Dyer was the CRISPR gene editing. And there you're really playing with fire, I think. The human race has proved woefully inadequate or woefully brilliant at unintended consequences. So maybe I'll say it that way.
Yeah, we are a bubbling chaos of nastiness as a species, and somehow we've come up with a system where this bubbling chaos of nastiness actually does pretty cool, useful stuff. And if you start churning out Isaac Newton's Superfly or whatever, you're killing the species. You think you're like doing something cool, but no, you're not. You're doing something stupid.
Yeah, the odds are not with you or with us. Even the dire wolf. I know they're, it's pretty cool that they found certain genetic attributes that make it look like the dire wolf, and they bred it with a real wolf,
kind of half wolf,
splicing, whatever. But still, that's a little, Dr. Frankenstein-like, and I liked how the article pointed out there's all kinds of nuances. How did the mother wolf raise the pups? How did what she ate affect the pups in her womb? And good point. There's all kinds of things that we have no freaking idea how life really works.
Some animals like the Tasmanian tiger, which is a marsupial predator in Australia, just disappeared like 100 years ago. We actually have a video, old-time video of a Tasmanian tiger in a zoo alive, walking around. But we could bring it back probably, I guess. But then, like you just said, where do you raise it? How do you raise it? What are you going to do there? There's nothing even close to that. It's not like you can use a dog for a wolf. Tasmanian tiger was a predator marsupial. I mean, that's not a kangaroo. It looked like a tiger, 4-legged dog.
Is that where the Tasmanian devil came from?
I don't. The
Because I'm going to say, I think I remember seeing lots of, as a kid, I remember seeing the Tasmanian devil a lot on Bugs Bunny.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know if that's the same, but yeah. I don't think I'd want them around. Oh, wow. That's cool.
See, and that's just 100 years old, so we could make something that look like that, but then, what do you do with it?
But then what? Yeah. Yeah, maybe you unleash it against all the rabbits that you introduced like idiots to Australia and have no natural predators. How about that?
Yeah, Australia is a good example. we hear about if we don't manage the environment, it's going to, like, things are going to blow up, we're all going to die. Australia did not do managing. They just brought stuff in, toads in, whatever they got, bunnies. And it
English
just,
sparrows.
yeah, emus. And these all of the things they brought in just overrun the whole continent. And they still seem somehow or another to have an ecosystem.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Not a happy one, but a good one. Yeah, this ancestral one, the problem with eugenics, I keep running these issues about this thing, something that happens in history, like eugenics, where we picked out different qualities, are good or bad.
Right.
And I try to tell people it wasn't that there was some power dynamic that, I'll use slavery because I don't care. Slavery is bad on the slave owners. Bad on the slaves, but it's not as if you suffered more, so it's just bad on you. Fighting wars can be very, very bad on the victor because usually you bend a bunch of rules to win a war, and you end up doing stuff you wish you hadn't. So we keep thinking of these things as being, well, there's a clear winner or loser, and so the winner was right and the loser was wrong. It's like, nah, I don't, there's a mix there, and it's important to understand this. Like, you maybe bring back the mammoth in a zoo, but not rehabitat it, or...
Right, yeah, that was one of the things in there, too. Yeah, well, maybe that's, like, as some goofy idea, like, maybe that's why they don't have it's not as cold anymore because they didn't eat the grass and the new green shoots didn't go, so it warmed up and the glaciers retreated over. Come on, man. You're so egotistical.
Maybe. Yeah.
Right. I know. What we really needed is more woolly mammoth eating the grass and pooping.
Well, you read these articles about what are we going to do about the Ukrainian war? Like, it's not our war. I can't answer your question.
Oh, I know what. We should just blast all their social media with the Bob Newhart clip when he's a psychologist and a woman comes in with some psychosis and he goes through this whole typical Bob Newhart shtick about, well, it's going to be $10 for the first 5 minutes. Oh, okay. Should I pay that now? Yes, please. Should I pay for the next 5 minutes? No, because nobody ever gets even 5 minutes. And so she's all, should I lay down on the couch? No, I won't take that. We don't do that here. and his whole therapy was when she says the weird thing that she does, like she's afraid of being, buried alive in a box. and so he's like, well, have you ever had that happen to you?
Yeah.
No.
But I imagine it would be very scary.
Right. Yeah, because that would be bad. And so his whole therapy session was he just yells out 2 words. He goes, should I write that? She says, should I write that down? No, most people can remember 2 words. And then he says, stop it. So that's what they should do. Just flood all the Ukraine and Russian media channels with, that's the only thing you can pick up on Twitter and X and Instagram and whatever else. It's the only thing they get to see is stop it.
It's a very strange place we are. And I know you and I have a little different politics, and I don't want this to be a political discussion, but Ukraine's a good example of, there's not a lot of people saying nuanced stuff on Twitter. Right, so people will say like some hot takes that you can either disagree with or agree with. Right, well, you're trying to make a little joke or whatever, but there's no like, well, maybe this, maybe that, and it seems like everything's become that now. Every topic is like, oh, here, let me punch you in the head, bam, that hurt. Oh, I didn't. It's your fault. It hurt. It's like, I really don't want to talk like this. Thank you very much. I'm okay. So yeah, I wonder how many actual people are out there as well, as opposed to, because these little one-liners, hot takes, could probably be generated by an LLM pretty dang simply.
True. Yeah, and I think the danger is it's kind of hard to know what reality is. I often think about, imagine if you only got news like the old days. From your neighbors. You wouldn't know jack shit.
Not a lot, no. Hey, stuff you did know would probably be wrong.
Yeah, I mean, if you're in Ukraine and getting bombed, you know that's reality.
Yes.
But everything else, it's not. And so what gets amplified, like you said, even with it could be LLM fraudulently doing stuff, but even so, the algorithms, what gets amplified doesn't mean that's what's really going on. But, you get, yeah, it's really hard to know how much we're affected by the volume.
Yes.
Hoffman would say this 20, 30, 50 years ago even. Plane crashes get all the headlines, especially back then. Like they get all the news cycles. Everybody knows them. I used to tell people, imagine if they did that. Like, no, it's the safest form of, per passenger seat mile transportation in the world. Imagine if they plastered car accidents.
There was a train wreck, I think in Georgia or Alabama, that killed 100 and some people. Awful wreck. People went there to picnic because you didn't see things like that ever. It was like, oh my gosh, let's go see the people being pulled out from the twisted metal. They brought their picnic and they'd sit there and kind of watch it. But these weren't lurid people. This was the big thing. If the president came through town, you might travel all day, go visit the president. First time you would ever really see him.
Yeah, right. Anyway, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, cool stuff. So yeah, that you don't, it's not as clear cut as people would like it to be, unfortunately. So the next one is, I saw like 4 different essays, posts, comments, all along the lines of, a career is a pie eating contest and the prize for winning is more pie. Which is like, you get on a grinder, get a good job, and if you're really good at the grinder, they give you more grinding to do. And I saw a bunch of stuff. It's really strange. There were so many posts along those lines. And we've got some recommendations for atomic blog posts. They made the comment, which is true, that this whole entire thing is just one sentence, just different little pictures and such. Yeah, okay. Why would they do? I have no idea why they do a bunch of.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, unpacking that, a pie eating contest. That's who can eat as much pie. I guess, maybe. So I guess he's distinguishing, or she, I don't even know. Is that distinguishing it from just a job?
Yeah, I think he's saying that the better you are at playing the game wherever you're working, the more game they give you to play, and that's not necessarily related to becoming a better person or providing value or any of that. It just makes you more of a better game player for that one little area.
Yeah, I will say, I just had a reunion on Saturday with my buds at the Naval Air Propulsion Center. So from, the early 80s, and got to be next to my 2 most favorite mentors in that place. Cool. And then even the one that I went to and worked with for another 15 years. So I knew the other guy much longer. One of the cool things about having that first job, testing cruise missile engines, research and development, crazy stuff, was as much as you could chew, you could bite off. So
yes.
I think I was blessed by having that kind of a place. Now, is that, I guess maybe that's eating more pie.
No, that's the exact opposite. I mean, what he's saying.
Yeah, like, I'm thinking it's not that. It's
a lot of startup folks have problems working in big corp because, you're talking to your buddy at a startup. Well, the cloud just went down for the DNS server or whatever. Okay, I'll go fix it. You may have never been to the cloud. This is just, it's broken. I go fix it. And they don't understand. You walk in an environment where, oh no, this is the cloud department with this guy who does it. It's just, why would you ever have this segmentation, and why do I have to fill out a form and all that?
Right.
And the better you get at this stuff, the more they're going to put you in charge of filling out forms. Dang it. So I get what he's saying. All the BS around the jobs, if you get really good in the big, you're just going to get more BS.
Oh, that I agree with. Yeah, that I can see, because I have an aversion to large corporate stupidity. I guess it could be small, and I still have an aversion to it. But it tends to be more endemic to the larger the organization, the stupider they get.
Yes.
But at the same time, I have an aversion to roles and titles.
Yeah.
because that's just, you just triggered that thought. You need to know what it takes to do whatever it is we're doing. We need to know how to do it.
Yeah, let's go do it.
And
yeah,
if you need to figure out, and break it down into roles for job descriptions and this and that, fine. But suddenly it becomes all about that, or all about.
Then there's a framework on how to deal with the person who has the job description.
Yeah, and pretty soon people are more narrowly defined, and they can't go and just fix it and get it working. And yeah, that's not my ideal for how work should be.
I think we all know people that's really, I know a few really, really smart people worked in a big corporation, got really good, got promoted, and don't have any skills. I mean, they were laid off at some point, and they were like 20 years of managing the IT help desk or whatever, and now there's nothing. They used to be able to do a bunch of stuff, but after 20 years, now they're stuck being able to do nothing.
Yeah, that's a good point, because that's a fear, even of mine, right? I still code, I still do stuff. I'm learning, trying to build a little fun AI RAG system on the side, and picking up different things, because it's easy to become, I don't want to say irrelevant, but to let your skills soften.
That's fine. I think that one of the important things to do, whatever your hobby is to do something in that hobby from start to finish. Because, you learn about so many different little pieces of hobbies, like here's functional programming, here's cloud management, and you forget that that piece is part of a journey that is a whole big bunch of other stuff, and you really, if that's something you really like doing, you should know all the other stuff just as well.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so I actually did a tweet on that. Basically, it says that you just have to look at your end goal, not your tools you're using, which is, I'll put that in the room. Oh, actually, it's in the room where we did that. All right, so next up, some of these essays like we're going to have forever and ever. Stop writing command line interface validation, parse it right the first time. And this is using command line interface as an example, but I could do the same thing with stored procedures and databases come to mind right off. The idea being, hey, just don't accept anything. It don't work. And then it's on you, Bubba, to make that work. And we have had this battle forever and ever. Oh my God. Jeez. It was 30 years ago we're having this. So it varies between, there's like, okay, push the rules out to the edge. We'll run all the validation out here. And then we'll just take anything you got. Then there's I own the database and I will fight you. You have to follow my rules. And neither one of those seem to work very well.
That's funny.
But yeah, it's just, 20 years from now, I bet you'll be reading the same thing.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's even funny that, at least they admit, I stumble across repos at 2 a.m. Okay. I see your problem.
Yeah.
That might be part of it. And now I see this crap over and over again. Yeah. You could also just walk past.
You can just look. Yeah, just look and move on. Move on.
Right.
Yeah. I understand what he's saying. Cool. Would it be cool to have an easy way to, and let's keep the metaphor going, to do client-side form validation? And of course, we've done some of that. You can make a text box and email field, for instance, and it just takes emails or whatever. So wouldn't it be cool if there's some standard way of getting options from the command line? Yeah, it'd be kind of cool. I may use it now and then, but it's the kind of thing you can go too far with.
Yeah, to what end and what problem are you solving, and yeah.
Because what happens is, and this gets back to my incremental strong type discussion, is that you begin validation because you have to have the thing fixed up to do the thing you're doing. Makes sense. I'm with you. Count me in. But then at some point, maybe that same day, you go, oh golly, we're kind of validating customer address. We should just make a library for customer address. And then now you're like creating a type for the entire organization to use. It's customer address. And That's a different animal completely. Now you're saying all addresses must have 3 string lines and a postal code or whatever. And it's like, oh boy, now you're bringing a bunch of stuff into the mix that you didn't have to.
Yeah, and that reminds me of the semantic web and the resource, what is it, RDF, resource description, something.
Format, yes, format.
Like, for things like address. What is an address?
Yes.
What is an address in the U.S.? What is good luck getting people to use stuff like that.
The thing is that you really can, I don't believe in passing any new laws, but I am tempted from time to time. And one of the ones I'm tempted on is make public internet companies stick to public protocols, because it's just, they're making a deliberate mess to lock you into their walled garden, and it's just not right. It's not competitive. It's not the right way to do stuff. And did you ever use, I'm going to go back, way back in time, do you remember Google Wave and XMPP?
Sounds vaguely familiar, but I don't remember it enough now.
So there was a standard cross-messaging platform protocol, basically a universal chat protocol.
Oh, not IRC, something else?
No, this is like a super IRC for the new age, pictures, text, movies, whatever you want. And you can use it with whatever messenger service you're using. It's cross-system, and it was just one protocol to use on all your messengers. Of course, this is a horrible idea for businesses, because I want people in my system using my messaging protocol. So Google came out with a product called Wave, and I loved Wave. It was freaking awesome. You could, if you had a blog, you could drop a Wave entry as a comment section on your blog, and people would come by and would talk like a channel just about your blog there, and it had real-time chatting back and forth. It was really, really cool. And of course, they had to kill it right away. We're not keeping that around. And everybody was like, oh, man.
Yeah, that is a challenge from a commercial point of view. I remember, back in the day of building a UML modeling tool and the TogetherSoft stuff and supporting the standards. And then there was ways to exchange, together model with a rational rows or something like that.
Oh, so yeah.
I forget the intermediary spec. But the way I would describe it to folks is, you get the least, how should I put it, like the least common denominator, essentially. So there might be frills and, bells and whistles on the rational model, and maybe the Together has some bells and whistles that are unique value propositions to help people purchase them because they're cool features that I want. But by the time you share those models, you got only what's the most common that's specified by this, of course, least common denominator type spec. Well, and to your point, that's it lets you transfer stuff back and forth at a minimum. You get, well, at least I can read that model and get 80% of it, but I don't get the whiz bang parts or whatever. But yeah, you're right. It's kind of flies in the face of competitive advantage and things like that.
And we're getting into the type discussion yet again. That we fixed this. Right. One of the problems with XMPP was it had deep XML blood in it. And by that I mean, you could do dang freaking anything. Just put some tags in a JSON. Throw it in there, and you're good to go.
Yeah, that's what this standard was. Something in XML, right? You can do whatever you want. Yeah.
And people did not like that. I believe. Yeah. I don't know what to say about it. We miss it, and we're going to end up having to build the stack even higher to finally get cross-messaging applications. It's just a dumb way of doing it.
Wow, look at that. And you didn't even have to go to the Wayback Machine.
Yeah, their XMPP still running along, I guess. Google Wave became Apache Wave, and they discontinued it in 2018. This is my Google Wave. You're like an old timer when you talk about software that was like 10 years ago. That's a good time.
I remember back in 2018.
2018 was a good year. We had multi-cores back then. Yeah. All right, so the last one we got, and I was really looking forward to talking to Tim about this, but I'll go ahead and do this with you. So this is one of those yes but no. And I understand what primitive accession is, and so I was going to like poke at Tim over primitive accession. Well, you got a big method, you keep adding parameters. Well, I'll just make a new class and pass the class in. This is the way we teach solid pretty traditionally. It rubs me the wrong way as a functional coder, and not because you're simplifying. No, that's good. You use a static record field for that. That's good. I like that. Very good. But you don't need to like buy a Lamborghini, to go to the 7-Eleven. And my problem with classes are the very things that make them super cool. Information hiding, persistence, polymorphism. And so if you make that a class, you really no longer know what's coming to you. I mean, you know what you're asking in sort of English, it'll link up at some point to some other thing, but, maybe the guys put getters and setters in there. Maybe they've got one thing modified another thing. You don't want that in your code. You make it a record, static record, and then if they change it, they'll have to go explain to you and other people why they need something extra, or why it's not going to work, because otherwise you're adding too much complexity for no benefit at all.
Well, yeah, you could at least, I think, isn't this very similar to like a data transfer object, or like something that, oh, this combination of things I need a lot.
Yes.
So instead of splaying them out on a method, okay, let's pass that thing in there, because then I can use it in 10 other places too.
Yes.
That makes sense.
And the
but
reason
certainly as a
you're doing this because of your head. Like, I would have just show me the name of the thing that has the 10 things, because I can remember that name, but can't remember 10 different parameters. It just makes it too complex. And I'm with you on that. Sign me up, but I would use the static record for that.
Yeah, it can be whatever makes sense. But yeah, I see this. The post is pretty short, so he's kind of said his piece, and I don't know if that's enough. I would need more reasons to do what he suggests blindly. Like, I would hope someone wouldn't read that and go, "Ooh, I've got like 47 methods that's got all kind." Yeah, I'm just going to go now create 700 new property classes. Like, no. Yeah, like that would be the misinterpretation of this. Like, I could see a variation of this.
You've got 2 parameters. We need to make a class out of that. Kill.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's bad. Very bad.
And a crazy thing that it sometimes sounds counterintuitive to people, but I would see folks make this mistake. Like, the domain might have 2 very distinct concepts, and we happen to model them with, I'm just making this up, 3 attributes with the exact same name.
Yeah.
I'll just, whatever.
Yes, but they're all, spoiler alert, they're all different attributes.
Correct. And it's 2 completely different domain concepts. It just so happens at this point in time, what we capture about them looks the same.
Yes.
And this is another wildly erroneous move some novice might make to say, "Ooh, well, that's the same things. I'm going to refactor that." Like, no, don't do what this post says.
Throw in some polymorphism, and then like people call your class, and you end up running Jimbo's code over here that left 20 years ago.
Right.
Like,
Right. And the point is, the domain, your knowledge about the domain might grow, and we really think about it separately. It's just a coincidence that the properties at the moment look the same.
So that was the basic that parsing discussion as well. Validation. It's like, okay, well, say I want to write some code that will just sort of address this, and I've got a common limited field or CSV field, whatever. Well, I can go, okay, field 1 is this field, and then I can lock them into being strings or numbers. Then I can do a sort. And do I really need to do all that? I mean, in Unix, you can just do sort column 4 and you're done. Or sort column 4, then column 3. And it's a one-liner command. But there are people who will add type validation for all of the fields that are expected to get. And it's like, do you really need this? No.
I know, that's... And when you program in something like Ruby, you get the joy of acting like an adult, so to speak.
Yeah, you're responsible for the whole thing.
Yeah, and you pass a string when it was supposed to be a number. That's on you, pal.
Yeah,
It's just gonna.
yeah.
And yeah, you could add all kinds of, but you just make it the simplest way for it to show you, no, that's wrong. And let me help you out. You need it to be this. Or the cool thing is, if it works, it can coerce it into. So yeah, it's all a matter of how critical is it that you get it right.
Well, if you're running a standalone app, so you're running some sort of microservice, usually you should use the onion model. Onion model has the outside of the onion, which means I will interact with the OS in a way that will not fail. I may return nothing, maybe whatever. You just send me stuff, and I will accept whatever you send me. I'm a happy-go-lucky program. And then the next level down is I need these three things to be like this, and if they're not, I'm not going to continue. And then finally inside, you have no types at all. You're like, hey, it's all on you. Like you just said, say you send me the wrong thing. You're supposed to be doing that in the hour later there. But by doing it that way, I think what bothered me most about this parse thing is if your business data makes you like fork your code, that's a big thing you should be talking to your business owner about. You should be making up business rules for validation in your code. You know, people make a lot of decisions for the whole organization just by making code one way or the other.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this seems like the guy's just looking for an excuse to be more controlling.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of that in programming database technologies. Like, I will own the entire system. You will come to me. They need like a little cat they can track or something. Yes, Mr. Bond. Yeah. You going to refactor? No, I'm going to die. No. You expect me to refactor? No, I expect you to die. It was the laser coming down and everything. It was fun stuff. So let's go on and move to the closing part. Any books or movies? You mentioned the Skunkworks book.
Yeah, I'm still moving through that. Oh, one other fun story, I'll just relay another one, was they basically designed it for like a 9-hour, 40-minute mission. And one of the funny lines was, I'll run out of ass before I run out of gas. Because
you're not going.
And plus, they're in those spacesuits, so they had to lay down on a cot for a couple hours before each mission to just breathe pure oxygen, I guess, to help get rid of the bends in case they had some sort of a rapid descent. So crazy stats, like from 70,000 feet, the thing could glide because it's like a sailplane, even though there's, barely any oxygen up there. The thing could glide 250 miles.
Jeez. Wow.
It's like, okay, that's pretty amazing.
Okay, we got an engine out where we're going to land. I don't know pick a state first.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah, and plus they could usually, if they had a flame out, it usually would take until about 35,000 feet to restart.
Well, yeah, because they didn't have the air to restart up. They would have to wait to get down.
Yeah, it was too hard because they were flying, they tweaked with the engine man, with Pratt & Whitney, they tweaked some things to try to, to make that engine work at such rarefied altitudes. But they talked about one crazy mission where it was basically a flyover. Because normally they would fly in and fly back out and come land in Germany or Korea or Japan, wherever some of their other bases was. And then they had one base out of Turkey, I think. Mm-hmm. So one of the flights was, I believe, maybe it started in Wiesbaden, and then anyway, it was more like a one-way. And they had they carried cyanide pills with them.
Oh my God! They actually did that. Wow.
Yeah, and he said one guy, they must have put it in the wrong pocket, and he was fiddling and getting out like his sore throat lozenges. And so he's feeling a little scratchy, and he pulls the thing out, and he immediately spits it out, and he realized, what the heck? That was the cyanide pill, not my sore throat lozenge. So luckily,
that will definitely fix your sore throat. That would.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Because you're supposed to, it's supposed to be like in an inner pocket anyway.
I think they're still using. They're still using the U2, right? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think it's called the TR1 now. I think they've upgraded it. But he's, I think, flying over, and then he's got to come and maybe land in Turkey. So he's coming over probably the Urals. I don't know what the heck, Caucasus, something like that. But he literally, and I think he landed, supposed to come over the mountain range, and maybe you would see some smoke that they would put up. But anyways, everything they did was pretty highly timed. So there'd be a signal that would show that it's safe to land type thing. We've got this area controlled, because I think it was Pakistan, I don't know, Turkey or something like that, some crazy place. And he landed with only like 20 gallons of fuel left. It just, no margin for error. And like these guys were crazy.
I can't remember I saw it. I saw an article recently about airplanes laying down cable. Yeah, I don't know exactly which, but the idea was in World War II, they had transport planes that would just be cable carriers. And they would just come in and start unspooling cable. And you might get 50, 100 lines of cable. There was like millions and millions of miles of cable that were actually laid down by airplane.
Wow.
Cool story.
For literal communications.
Yes. Because you can't eavesdrop on the landline that way.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So
it's cool. This is a cool book. Yeah. How about you?
I have finished the thing up, the metal shelf. I pulled up my grok experiment, and I would look at it, and you weren't here last week, but basically I spent 2 hours and got back to the same spot I was the previous week, where it didn't understand the double. I'm like, hey, you're processing the commands wrong, and it was just disheartening. I'm like, I don't want to have to argue with you again on this. And I look at it, I'm like, I just can't do it. But I do want to come back.
I wonder if you could use Grok Project, and that would save and have some memory.
That's a good idea. I could try that. That's a real good idea.
Yeah.
So I've been meaning to do that. I'm finishing up the last season of The Expanse on a rewatch. Just put it on the TV and let it run. It was a good idea, The Expanse, and good sci-fi. It's just a slow story, so you have to kind of take that in stride.
Take your time.
Yeah, very much so. All right, let me go and say the goodbye thing here. There you go. You have lost another hour of your time, and thank you for coming by. This is the Roundup. There's a duck on the other page. Oh, I keep forgetting the duck. You should scan the duck. The duck is your friend. The duck loves you. Scan the duck. That will take you to the Discord room. In the Discord room, you feel free to post links, comment, and join us on the Roundup. I'm Danny Martin. On the internet. Good deal, John.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Your week going okay? You said you went traveling.
Yeah, we visited some friends of ours that used to live here, but they're down in Lancaster because their son and wife and now 3-month-old granddaughter are there. So they ended up moving down there from here, and they live part-time in Florida, down near Satellite Beach.
Okay.
So one of these days we got to go down there and see some launch. He says they launch like 3 times a week. It's just real busy.
Oh yeah, SpaceX is like increasing their launch cadence. It's going to be several times a week now with the big rockets. It's going to be amazing. Wow.
Oh wow. Yeah, I might have to plan that to go see one of those.
All right. Well, have a good one, John.
All right. Thanks.
I'll catch you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. That's it. That's all we got. Bada boom, bada bing. Bada bing, bada boom.